The school hallway was alive with the usual morning chaos, lockers slamming, students rushing, and the sound of laughter echoing against the walls. But in the middle of all that noise, one girl walked quietly with her head lowered, clutching her books close to her chest like a shield. Her name was Emily Carter. Everyone knew her as the quiet one, the girl who sat at the back of the class, never spoke unless called upon, and always seemed like she wanted to disappear into the background. But someone else noticed her that morning, someone who thrived on making the quiet ones feel even smaller. His name was Jason Miller, the school's most notorious bully. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a cruel grin that never left his face, Jason had made a name for himself by picking on the weaker kids. He was the kind of guy who felt powerful only when others felt powerless. And today, Emily was his target. Jason shoved through the crowd and blocked Emily's path. "Well, look who it is," he sneered, his voice dripping with mockery. "Little Miss Silent. What's wrong, Emily? Lost your tongue again?" His friends snickered behind him, forming a circle as if they were about to watch a show. Emily tried to step aside without saying a word, but Jason grabbed her wrist and yanked her closer. "I'm talking to you, Carter. You think you're too good to talk to people. Too good to even look at me." His grip tightened, and for the first time, Emily raised her eyes. What Jason didn't know was that Emily's silence wasn't weakness, it was restraint. She had grown up in a military family, her father a decorated Marine who had trained her in self-defense since she was 10. While she had never wanted to hurt anyone, she had learned discipline, control, and strength far beyond what anyone at school imagined. In that moment, when Jason laid his hands on her, something inside Emily shifted. The hallway seemed to freeze, the laughter, the whispers, the noise, all of it blurred into silence. With calm precision, she twisted her wrist free in a move so quick Jason barely had time to react. Then, in a flash, she stepped to the side, grabbed his arm, and used his own weight against him. Within seconds, Jason was on the floor, his face flushed with shock and humiliation. The crowd gasped. His friends who had been laughing moments before suddenly fell silent, their mouths hanging open. Jason, the untouchable bully, had been taken down by the quietest girl in school. "Don't ever touch me again," Emily said firmly, her voice steady and clear. She didn't yell. She didn't gloat. She simply spoke with a calm authority that made the words hit harder than any scream. Jason scrambled to his feet, his pride wounded more than his body. You're crazy," he shouted, trying to mask his embarrassment. But deep down, he knew what everyone else saw. For the first time in his life, he wasn't the one in control. The incident spread through the school like wildfire. By lunch, everyone was talking about how Jason Miller had been dropped by Emily Carter in less than 10 seconds. Some students laughed about it, others admired Emily's courage, and a few even felt relief, because if Jason had been stopped once, maybe he could be stopped again. But for Emily, it wasn't about fame or revenge. She sat quietly at her lunch table, trying to block out the stares. She hadn't wanted the attention, she just wanted to be left alone. Yet, as she ate, a few students came up to her. One of them, a smaller boy named Michael, whispered, "Thank you, he picks on me every day." Emily looked at him and gave a small smile. For the first time, she realized her strength wasn't just for herself, it could protect others too. Jason, however, didn't take the humiliation lightly. His pride burned like fire. That afternoon, he tried to confront Emily again, this time without an audience. He cornered her near the gym, his fists clenched. "You think you're tough. You made me look like a fool. Nobody does that to me," he hissed. Emily didn't flinch. "Jason, this doesn't have to keep happening," she said calmly. "You don't have to be the guy who hurts people to feel strong. You can be better than this." Her words cut deeper than any physical move. Jason had always lived under the shadow of his older brother, who was constantly praised for being a star athlete. At home, he felt invisible, worthless, so he made himself feel powerful at school by putting others down. Hearing Emily, the girl he thought was weak, speak to him with such quiet strength unsettled him in a way he didn't expect. He didn't change overnight, but that moment planted a seed. Over time, Jason began to ease up on the bullying. He wasn't suddenly kind or gentle, but he wasn't as cruel either. And whenever he passed Emily in the halls, he looked away, a reminder of the day he realized that strength wasn't about intimidation. Emily, on the other hand, found herself stepping out of the shadows more. She joined the school's martial arts club, not to show off, but to help teach others how to protect themselves. Students who once overlooked her began to see her in a new light, not as the shy girl at the back of the class, but as someone brave, strong, and quietly inspiring. By the end of the year, Emily had not only silenced a bully but had also given other students the courage to stand up for themselves. And though she still preferred quiet moments and kept to herself, she carried herself differently, head held higher, shoulders straighter, eyes brighter. The story of Emily Carter became one of whispered admiration in the school's history, a story students told to new kids who feared bullies. And the message was always the same. Never mistake quietness for weakness. Sometimes, the ones you overlook are the ones with the most strength. The morning sun spilled through the windows of Riverside High School, painting streaks of gold across the crowded hallway. Students moved in waves, the sound of chatter, laughter, and the occasional locker slam echoing off the walls. It was a typical morning, for everyone except Emily Carter. Emily walked with her shoulders hunched forward, books pressed tightly against her chest. Her long brown hair fell like a curtain over her face, shielding her from the world. To most people, she was invisible. She didn't join after-school clubs, didn't speak up in class, and avoided the cafeteria whenever possible. Quiet, shy, always tucked in the background, Emily had mastered the art of not being noticed. But that day, someone noticed. At the far end of the hallway stood Jason Miller, the school's infamous bully. He was taller than most of the boys his age, with a presence that demanded attention. His smirk alone was enough to make kids lower their gaze, and his cruel jokes echoed long after he walked away. Jason thrived on dominance. Picking on others gave him the illusion of control in a life where he often felt powerless. When his eyes landed on Emily, something inside him lit up. The perfect target. Quiet, isolated, vulnerable. At least, that's what he thought. Jason swaggered toward her, his heavy footsteps echoing. His friends followed like shadows, snickering in anticipation. Well, look who we have here, Jason drawled, stepping right in front of Emily. She froze, clutching her books tighter. Jason leaned closer. Little Emily Carter. Always hiding, never talking. Tell me, do you even have a voice? His friends burst into laughter, and one of them muttered, she looks like she might cry. Emily tried to slip past, but Jason blocked her way again. He shoved her books, sending them tumbling to the ground. The sharp crack of binders hitting the floor turned a few heads nearby. Students slowed, whispering, watching the scene unfold. Jason wasn't finished. He reached out and grabbed Emily's wrist. I asked you a question, he said, his grip tightening. Answer me when I talk to you. For a split second, fear flickered in Emily's chest. Memories of being the quiet girl, the one people overlooked, the one who was too timid to speak up. But then, another memory surfaced, her father's voice. Strength isn't about hurting people, Emily. It's about protecting yourself, and protecting others when you need to. You're stronger than you think. Her father, a former Marine, had trained her in self-defense from a young age. Not because he wanted her to fight, but because he wanted her to never feel helpless. Emily had kept that side of herself hidden, but when Jason's hand dug into her skin, something in her snapped into place. She lifted her eyes, meeting Jason's smug grin. And then, everything changed. With a swift movement, Emily twisted her wrist, breaking free from his grip. Before Jason could react, she stepped aside, grabbed his arm, and flipped him over her shoulder. The hallway erupted in gasps as Jason's body hit the floor with a thud that silenced the laughter instantly. Jason blinked up at her, stunned, his ego shattered. His friends stood frozen, unable to comprehend what had just happened. The shy, quiet girl had taken down the strongest bully in the school, in less than 10 seconds. Emily's voice was calm, steady, and sharper than any insult Jason had ever thrown. Don't ever touch me again. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't gloat. She simply walked away, leaving Jason on the floor, his pride in pieces. The hallway buzzed like wildfire. By the end of the day, everyone knew the story. Did you hear? Emily Carter flipped Jason Miller like it was nothing. Students whispered it in classrooms, in the cafeteria, even in the gym. For the first time, Jason wasn't feared, he was laughed at. But while Emily wanted to forget the incident and return to her quiet world, life had other plans. At lunch, a younger boy named Michael Sanders shyly approached her. His backpack straps were frayed, and he kept glancing around nervously. Emily, he said softly, thank you. Jason, he bullies me almost every day. What you did, it gives me hope. Emily's heart softened. She had never wanted to be anyone's hero. But seeing the gratitude in Michael's eyes made her realize that standing up for herself meant standing up for others, too. Jason, on the other hand, stewed in humiliation. His friends teased him behind his back, and the reputation he had built over years crumbled in a single moment. But Jason's anger wasn't just about being embarrassed, it was rooted in something deeper. At home, Jason's life was far from perfect. His father was always working, rarely present. His older brother, a star athlete, was constantly praised, leaving Jason in the shadows. No matter what he did, he felt like he would never measure up. The only place he felt powerful was at school, by tearing others down. And now, even that power was gone. Later that week, Jason cornered Emily near the gym. His fists clenched, his eyes filled with frustration. You think you're better than me? He spat. You think you can humiliate me and just walk away? Emily didn't back down. She looked him straight in the eye. Jason, I don't think I'm better than you. But I won't let you hurt me, or anyone else, again. Her words cut deeper than any punch could. Jason stood frozen, struggling to respond. Deep down, he realized she was right. He wasn't angry at Emily, he was angry at himself, at his life, at the emptiness he felt inside. That confrontation planted a seed. Over the next few weeks, Jason changed, not overnight, but slowly. He stopped cornering kids in the hallways. The cruel jokes faded. He wasn't suddenly kind, but he wasn't the same tyrant either. And whenever he passed Emily, he kept his distance, a quiet reminder of the day he learned the meaning of real strength. Emily, meanwhile, grew more confident. She joined the school's martial arts club, not to show off, but to teach others the same self-defense skills her father had taught her. Students who once overlooked her began to admire her. She was still quiet, still reserved, but now, she carried herself with quiet power. By the end of the year, Emily had transformed from the shy girl nobody noticed into someone who inspired others. And Jason, though still finding his way, began to realize that strength didn't come from fear, it came from respect. The story of that day lived on in Riverside High's history. New students would hear it whispered, "Don't mess with Emily Carter. She's proof that the quiet ones are often the strongest." And the message was clear. Never underestimate someone because they're quiet. Sometimes, the most unassuming people are the ones with the power to change everything.